Hi everyone, and welcome to week 2 of Loving a Healthier Lifestyle. I'm going to talk you through my kitchen and some of the helpful supplies that will help you be successful with your lifestyle transition. So to start with, we're going to go and look through my kitchen, and we're going to look at some of the utensils that I've taken out of my cupboards to show you to be quite helpful. So here in front we've just got a very small frying pan. This is really helpful for when you're making quick lunches. So quite often I'll just put some coconut oil in there, fry up an egg with some nuts and seeds and chuck in some herbs or some green vegetables, and that's a quick lunch, and serve it with some avocado. And then next we've got a 3-tier steamer. Now this is really helpful because you can have some chicken steaming on top, some vegetables in the second level, and then some larger vegetables in the bottom. You can have dinner ready in about 20 minutes if you're using a large steamer like that, and that definitely will serve more than 4 people. Now this is my Thermomix. I no longer use this steamer because the Thermomix does the same job for me. It has a Varoma, which is a steaming section that sits on top, and this also works as my high-powered blender or processor. So really this takes a lot of the hard work out of cooking from scratch, but everything can still be done without having a Thermomix. Next is a good spatula. I actually have 3 or 4 spatulas because I don't like to leave wastage in any of my pans when I'm cleaning or stirring or cooking. And scissors. I tend to use scissors for chopping over the saucepan or over the Thermomix when I'm cooking, and instead of using knives, I find it very quick to chop vegetables, even meat or herbs, using scissors. Next I've got my V-slicer. Now I still use this quite a bit for making vegetables look like chips for the children, or if I'm making vegetable noodles or zoodles. I don't have a noodle maker for vegetables, so I just use my V-slice, and this is fantastic for making raw salads. It's great to chop up carrot, beetroot, turnips, anything. And an ice cube tray. I use ice cube trays all the time, not just for water, but if I'm making up vegetable stock and I want to make ice cubes shapes, or if I'm making chicken meat for lunches, or if I'm making my little liver pate cubes, I'll put them in here, and these little silicone molds are great for pushing them out. They're really handy. When those ice cubes are frozen in shape, I pop them out and put them in a snap lock bag. I then have my little flask here. Now when you start making bone broth, which is the most amazing thing for healing your stomach and your intestines, you may want to put some bone broth in this and take it out for the day if you're heading out for the day. It's really, really handy, keeps it nice and hot. Good set of knives are handy, and then obviously the kettle. Now just moving along, I have this is my sort of my kitchen. I'm just giving you I've got my water filter there, which my loving husband tops up with rainwater every day. And then here at the sink, I've got some snack ideas that might be helpful for you. So just at the back, I've got the freezer bags. They're quite handy for just dividing up large portions of seafood or meat if you're putting them in the freezer. Next, I've got the takeaway containers, these guys here. Now these are perfect for freezing things like bone broth soup or casserole, or a night's meal that you need to get out of the freezer in a hurry. And I just like to put a little masking tape label on the front so I can remember what's in it and the date that I cooked it. So in the notes this week, we've talked about using seaweed and fungi. Now this is a type of black fungi you can get from the Asian supermarket, and they often come in bright colored packs like that. Here are some really helpful snacks to have. Seaweed. These are 2 types. This one's from Costco and this one's from the Asian supermarket. Just make sure you get one that doesn't have MSG in it. And these are really handy to keep in the handbag. They're quite dense in protein and quite healthy and yummy and crunchy and a bit salty. Now when you're having a craving for some cheese and you're cooking, this is a great option. This is called nutritional yeast. and it's yeast extract, which is very high in vitamin B, and it tastes a bit like cheese. It is a little bit expensive, so it's not the first thing you need to buy, but it lasts for a very long time. So this large container, it was about $8. You can get that from health food shops. And then the Humble Snap Lock bag. I use these for everything, especially for storing my smoothies in and also putting my ice cubes in once I've taken them out of the mold. Now moving along here, I've got some nut milk that I just made earlier, and that's just straining off in a nut bag. So basically it's just about 50 grams of nuts with some water blended, and then I strain it off, and then I've got nut milk. And that's great to have as transitioning from having your normal milk, but it's quite inexpensive to buy. So if you want to buy your milk, that's fine. Then here I've got my cooking container that I have my sea salt in. So you want to use sea salt or Himalayan salt because they actually are good for your health. They have minerals and they're not depleting. Here I've got my Australian olive oil, which I go through quite a lot of. So I like to use this brand. You can get it on sale quite often. My coconut oil, which I buy in bulk. A good place to get it from is Terra Madre in Victoria or Costco. And then here's my little special mix of herbs. So I'm sure you can see that. In that there is turmeric, cinnamon, cayenne pepper and Himalayan salt. I like this having it in one shaker because I'm not having to grab all the different size herb jars to get the health benefits from mixing them together like that. And I have one on the table, one next to the stove, and I add it to almost all of my meals. So just at the back here, I'm actually curing my own olives at the moment. A dear friend bought me some olives, and so we spent the afternoon making olives. Olives are great to have in salads or just as a snack, nice and salty. And here I have some water kefir. So this is one type of probiotic, and basically it's a mixture of sugar and water, and it mixes with these little granules, and this is a probiotic. Here's another probiotic drink which is called kombucha, and this is mixed with black tea and sugar and water. And here's another one called milk kefir. So this is again another type of probiotic which is made with milk and granules. So having the three of these, you can be sure that you're getting every strain of probiotic. However, if you just manage to have one of them, then that's great too. Even just having one on its own is even better than having your Inner Health Plus, because what's in here is live and actually growing. Then here's my little fruit bowl with my avocados. I have an avocado a day, so I'm always rotating my avocados from the top shelf to the bottom shelf and taking them out of the fridge according to how ripe they are. Okay, so here are a few more basics that I keep these guys right on top of my stove top so that when I'm cooking I can access them really quickly. So this one here, this is just cocoa powder with desiccated coconut mixed together, and that's what we use for protein in our morning smoothie. Just put a tablespoon of that in. Here's the cocoa powder, amazing for making desserts and also for adding extra flavor to smoothies. Pitted prunes or dates are handy. They're great to use as a natural sweetener in savory and sweet foods. And sunflower seeds are quite a bit cheaper than the pepita seeds, so I use a lot of sunflower seeds for crunch. I even like to fry them up and use them as salad dressings. They're beautiful. And white chia seeds or chia seeds are really handy. They're great to use it as an egg substitute if you're not allowed to have eggs. I love flax seeds. I use these in my savory cooking, in my smoothies, in my desserts. I use them all the time. They also work as an egg substitute, but they're a lot less expensive than chia seeds. And anywhere it says chia seeds, you can substitute for flax seeds. And then cashew nuts. I like to keep these to throw in if I'm making some fried eggs for breakfast, or I'll put them in a salad to help beef up the protein and give it a bit of crunch in my salad. So that's those. They live on top of my stove so I can get to them really quickly. And here are my little box of essential oils. So in here I have all the essential oils that I use. I use them for their medicinal properties, but I also use them for cooking. And in here I have my herbs, and they're in tiny little bottles like this. And this is a little peppermint essential oil. It's only 5 mils, but when you tip it upside down and give it a tap on the bottom like that, you get exactly half a drop, which is really handy when you're cooking with essential oils because the flavors are so strong you don't want to ruin a dish by adding too much. And then here's my little vitamin box. Each day I take a whole food supplement, and it really depends on what I'm needing at the time. Often I'll take an enzyme and usually a B complex or an omega-3. I have a special blend of essential oils in a capsule that I take as well, and I find that really helps me. Okay, so that's most of the kitchen. Now I'm going to move along to show you a little bit more about how I store my fridge and my pantry. So here's the front of my fridge, and it's set out so that I have quite a lot of meal planning and tips for the week to help me. So here I have some snack ideas for myself. Here are the main part of the meal lunchbox ideas and snack ideas for lunchbox, and that's mostly for the kids. And then over here I actually have my meal plan, which is just on a calendar, and as you can see it's very roughly written, and that's mostly so I can take advantage of what leftovers I have in the fridge or what I need to use up in the freezer. So I'm just going to open up this little cupboard on top of my fridge. This has all my lunch snacks for the kids, and so you can see it might look like it's a bit over the top the way that it's labeled and all in little containers, but I find this works really well for me because in the morning I'm in a hurry. So this is a large container of popcorn, and by just laying it on the side like that, it fits much better in the cupboard. And in here you can see these are rice thins. They're in a tall container, but when I lie them down I can fit everything in here. So I've got my seaweed snacks, the chocolate coated rice crisps because the kids love those, and just a few different things. I've got some dried bananas, cashews and sultanas, but the kids aren't allowed to take nuts to school, so that's can be a bit of a nuisance sometimes. So just opening up to my top freezer that I have inside. Now you can see there's quite a lot of organization there. The top left here I have a couple of lunches, which is some soup that I made, and I always keep about 6 of these little snap block bags, and these are what you need to make a smoothie. So it's full of fruits, full of spinach, full of vegetables, and that's ready to go. I just open that up, chuck it in the blender, add some water, and then and a bit of protein. They're really handy because my husband takes one out each morning and shares it with me, which is very lovely. In here I just have small portions of some quinoa ready for the kids' dinner. And then in here I actually have my homemade vegetable stock, which is really handy, really tasty, and super easy to make. In here I have all the excess fruit that I cut up or that's about to go off, or I might have served it to the kids and they won't finish it, so I just chuck it all in here, and later I'll add that to my smoothies or use it to make some chocolate mousse. In here I have really ripe avocados that I've peeled and squashed, ready to make chocolate mousse or add to a smoothie. And in here are my little snack size portions of cooked liver. So I just take one of those out and add them to my spaghetti sauce or casserole. In here I have these really fantastic, these are decor, and they're really great size containers. They're designed for pizzas, but I keep, in one of mine, the top one, I keep savory snacks. So in here I have my, you can see, my savory balls, and then a little slice that I've made there. And this is a great place where you would maybe even keep your quiches in the freezer. And then my kids still love having toast sometimes, so in there I've got my gluten-free bread, or you could keep your paleo bread or your paleo pancakes. And then down here I have the sweeter snacks, which are paleo snacks, something that I might reach for in the evening if I'm still feeling a bit peckish. And they're sweet but not overly sweet, and they're fairly high in protein, so I don't feel guilty about having them. And then here are, I just want to show you these are little ice cube size bits of chicken with coconut oil that I've blended to make up to use in my sandwiches for the kids, or I might even put them in with a fried egg. They're really handy to have like that instead of using processed hams, which have, you know, toxins and nitrates in them as well. Okay, so this is now going down to my fridge. So I have quite a lot of containers there for organising. So on the top shelf I just keep my leftovers, and in the middle shelf I have a few meals ready to go for the night that I might have taken out the freezer. And then down the bottom, instead of using the larger shelves that normally come with the fridge, I've actually taken them out and bought some large containers that I find are much better for storing vegetables, because I go through a lot of vegetables, and if I store them correctly I can sometimes get 2 weeks out of my veggies. And then just here, and the kids love boiled eggs, and boiled eggs are a great snack to have. I always keep them there ready for the kids. And just down here I'll show you, this is just a jar of vegetable juice that I always keep after steaming vegetables, and I'll reuse that to steam vegetables. Maybe even if I'm making rice for the kids, I'll use that to cook it in. And here we have my fermented, or my sauerkraut that I make myself. So this also is fantastic for probiotics, and if you can have a tablespoon of that a day, that's excellent. Okay, so that's the kitchen. Now I'm just going to take you out to my pantry. Unfortunately my pantry is not in the kitchen, but it's okay. I converted my laundry cupboard into a pantry. Now it's a little bit dark, so hard to see, but in here I have basically everything that I use. So up the top there is some milk for if I run out of time to make nut milk, and my daughter still has lactose-free cow's milk, so there's some there. Now the next level are all my cans and sauces. I still have a lot of those. And then down I just have some great size containers for storing everything in. Coconut. And I quite like to use these. They're a bit hard to see. These are spaghetti sauce jars, quite tall and skinny, and they're glass. So that's really great because they're not absorbing toxins out of the plastic. And then all my little plastic bags that, you know, it's almost impossible to put them all into containers. And down lower are my bulk items. So that's my large bag of nuts. I've got a big thing of bicarb soda, olive oil, salt, and also some other things. So I also have a lot of these bags, which I love, for storing freezer bags in, big shopping bags down there, and shopping bags for bin liners. And just moving along now, there's my little dehydrator. I like to use that to make kale chips. I used to make a lot of beef jerky, but I don't eat that so much now because I've cut back on the meat protein. But I use it mostly for making flax crackers or a paleo option of crackers. And then just down the side there you can actually see my sausage maker. Now I haven't used that for a long time because we get our sausages from the farm now, so that's quite handy. And moving along, there's my washing machine, and you can see the bread maker's been relegated to the laundry. I don't make bread very often anymore. And coming out to my garage, I'm coming out here because I just want to show you I do have a deep freeze. Now having a deep freeze is really handy, and in here I'll just show you a couple of things that I have. So some people have a chest freezer, and if you have that, then you probably need to get some baskets that you can lift in and lift out. But these drawers are fantastic. This is just, I think, from Kmart or Aldi, but don't get the plastic drawers, get the metal drawers. So just in here I have, when garlic's in season, I'll buy a heap of it, peel it and freeze it ready to go. This is some silver beet that I'll cook a big batch up and freeze it in small portions. And then just down here you can see a whole stack of little servings of bone broth. So I always keep a heap of these because I'll usually have one a day or one every second day, and that's about 300 mils in there. Just make sure you let the soup cool before you put it in the containers because they are very thin and you don't want to leach too much from the plastic. And here I've got some ready-made bolognese sauce ready to go, and a bit lower a whole stack of strawberries that I got when they were in season and freeze them. And then here is a little packet of pre-marinated chicken that I put together ready to go when I'm going to make a chicken dish. So there you have it. That's pretty much everything of how I keep things sorted. I'm sure I've forgotten something, but we can talk about that more. So let me know what you think. Thank you for sharing my home with me. I'm Daniella Hogarth.